Welcome. I'm Alex Mandossian, and wherever it is you're watching from, thank you for making it here. I'm going to make it worth your while because your time is important to you, and it is important to me. Now, this is a master class, and it's a master class on a topic that is relevant to everyone because I believe everyone was born to be a coach and is a coach of others. Now, you may not consider yourself a coach, but you do coaching as it relates to the context of this masterclass. So today's topic is about the 5 coaching practices that lead to wild success. Now, coaching is about high achievement, and whether or not you think you're a coach, maybe you have been coached, higher success, wild success, that's what we're after, to get more done faster, better, and with less effort, to be productive with less effort and have leverage, and to prioritize our life so that we know the difference between what's important and urgent, and we do what's important first. And that's not easy. So I thought if we focus on practice, like intentional practice, like Malcolm Gladwell has talked about in all his books, especially Outliers, maybe it doesn't have to take 10,000 hours in 10 years to master something. Maybe if you found a shortcut, you could do it faster, better, and easier. I don't know if that's possible, but I'm going to believe that just for the portion of this masterclass, and I hope you can suspend your disbelief and know that here's a shortcut. So let's define some things. Now, other words for coach, which is here in America, other words include lama. Okay, that's from Tibet. And guide, that's from England. Sensei is, of course, from Japan. Guru, you see guru, that is from India. I say it the way the Indians say it, guru, and they go like this, right? You never know with the Indians when I say yes or no, and they go like this. I never know if that's an indecision or it's a yes or a no. And anyone from India knows what I'm talking about. Tutor is from France. That's what they call it. Mentor, you hear that a lot. That's from Greece. That's from ancient Greece. Now, Shifu, that's Mandarin. And my good friend Fred from Taiwan taught me that. It's kind of like sensei, only for the Chinese. Maestro, you got to talk with your hands. Those are the Italians. And rabbi. Rabbi means teacher, in Hebrew. So a rabbi is not just a priest. A rabbi is a teacher, and I believe a coach, right? So it's not a religious thing. It is a life thing. It's a practice. So here's the first question is, what are coaching practices defined? What's a coaching practice? Well, a practice is like practicing for a sport, which has coaches, practicing for a musical instrument, which has coaches, and practicing to be a better student in school, that's called homework, which has practices. And I believe every day, whatever you do at work, or if you're unemployed, you are practicing for higher achievement. So a practice is what you physically do, okay? It's the doing part. It's not the head or the heart. It's the actual hands. It's what you do daily. And what you do in that day, you only have 86,400 seconds. Sounds like a lot, but it's not. It's 1,440 minutes. You have 168 hours a week. I hope a third of that time is sleeping and resting. If you mark it online, probably 1/8 of that time is sleeping. I know a lot of marketers who would agree with me. So a practice is what you do, okay? And what you do, your human doings, is what you're remembered by. You are a human being, but I believe what you do and the work that you do is how you're remembered. Tyrants in history, you can think of who they are. They are remembered because of what they did. Now, they're not remembered about what they believed. It's what they did. They actually executed their belief. We look at if there's a terrorist attack somewhere, and there is, we're looking at what they're doing, not what they're thinking. Do you understand? So that's what a practice is. And then great works, such as Gandhi or Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. or Jesus or Baal Shem Tov or Muhammad, or I can list a bunch of them, right? I'm trying to go across the spectrum, right? If you look at what they've done, then that makes all the difference, okay? So here's the next question. Why are coaching practices important? Because talking is not enough. Okay, the goal of the coach is to get the coaching client, that's what we call them, not customers, not students, not members. I call them clients. I don't know what you call them, but it's getting not a patient, but it's getting the coaching client to do something at a higher level. And the coach can only provide electricity. It is the job of the coaching client to flip the switch. Do you understand? So passion is not enough. Passion is electricity. Passion is fire. But flipping the switch is a level of commitment in order to get things done. I believe passion doesn't produce commitment, as one of my mentors teaches. It is commitment which produces passion. Think about that for a moment. Now, question, how do coaching practices work on a step-by-step basis? Okay, well, it's not enough to know that there are coaching practices. There's a step-by-step basis in any coaching practice. Now, there are many different coaching certifications. You get a certificate, you put it on the wall, just like a PhD or a medical doctor or a doctor of chiropractic medicine or a dentist or a hypnotherapist. You get a certificate, and that certificate has given you the right to say, I did this. In other words, I had intentional practice to study at a university, in my case, 5 years, to get 2 certificates, a degree in psychology and a degree in economics from the University of California at Irvine. And so that certificate is giving you the right to say that you did that. But what is it that you did? Well, in school, they have different disciplines that you learn. Usually 101 in America means the starting point. Then 201, 301, 401, advanced placement, which is called AP. You ascend, right? In coaching, I believe there should be a routine with every single coaching practice. And I have no idea what you think is the right routine, but here's the routine I like to start with and end with, right? What you do in the middle is important. Usually it's Socratic, you're asking questions. But here's what I believe is the most important thing. The first thing is you start with a victory. And that victory is in 2 parts, personal and professional. So here's a victory. A victory for me, personal, is that I influenced my son Gabriel to make up one of his tests in social studies as a sophomore in high school. He didn't want to do it. He's been exhausted because he rows. He's in crew and he does morning and evening practices, but he did it. And for me, I coached him, and I feel that that was a personal victory. That's personal. Now, professional. A professional victory for me is I just completed a marketing funnel I've been working on for 3 months, and that's a personal victory. So with coaching someone, I like to find out their victories or triumphs to start with, to put them in a positive focus. That's what my coach, Dan Sullivan of Strategic Coach, taught me. Start with a positive focus. We call it the victory or triumph starter, and I do this all over the world. If you've been with me, you know that I've done that with you. I don't care, $100,000 client or a friend. We start with a victory. It may sound corny, but it works because it gets you into a positive focus. And then you think about, what victory do you want to have in the future? Now, the second question I ask is, what's the intention or outcome of this session? In other words, I'm saying, what game do you want to play? Right? We want to play to win. Refusing to play doesn't work. Pretending to play doesn't work. Playing not to lose doesn't work. It's playing to win. And you got to play a winnable game. So the coach's job is to figure out, what game are they playing, and is it a winnable game? And if you play a winnable game, in other words, you can win, there's only 2 results. Number 1, you win. Number 2, you learn, right? If you don't win. So that, I learn a lot, by the way. I'm a lifelong learner, if you get what I'm saying. So it's super important for you to get the intention or the outcome of the meeting. And then you have your coaching, and generally coaching sessions can last from half an hour to an hour. There's no set time. It depends on the coach and the process of certification they've learned. And then I like to end with a score. Tapping, EFT, right? It works because there's always a score. How do you feel right now? It's a 4. How do you feel right now? It's a 7. You see progress, right? It's progress, not perfection. That's another line I learned from Dan Sullivan at Strategic Coach. So what I end with is saying, okay, how do you felt that you did in this coaching session? So the client is rating themselves, and they'll rate themselves, let's say, a 9. And then the next question I ask, that I learned from Daniel Pink, the great author, okay, then I ask, why didn't you rate yourself lower? Now, that's an interesting question because they're expecting, what would make it a 10? That's what they're expecting if they've gone through it. But why didn't you rate it lower? And they defend their score. So they defend the 9. And then I ask, what would make it a 10? Now, this is not only me, it's our coaches. We have coaches coaching others right now, probably somewhere in the world. And this is how we end the session. And then I ask the coach to rate me as the coach. How did I do on a scale of 0 to 10? And they say 10. I go, how come? Why? Why didn't you rate me lower? They defend the 10. Great. So, and then I ask, is there anything I could do to improve this session? Would you have done anything differently? And they tell me, and I go, well, you should have rated me a 9 then. Right? Thank you for the 10, but I rate you a 9. How do you rate me? They say 10. I go, great. So I write down 10. Now, over 6, 8, 12 coaching sessions, if all I have are 10s, and then the coaching client says, well, I don't like the way you've coached me. I say, what are you talking about? You've given me 10s throughout. You've gotten 8s and 9s. Okay. Is someone getting in the way of your life? Let's talk about that. That's a coaching session in itself. But what's your victory? You see what I'm saying? So I hope you go back and review what I just did, because that is the essence of how to start and end a coaching session for me.